Hey YouTube, how's it going? Mike here, and today we've got ourselves a Sceptile EX deck that we will be using in combination with the Ariados. Now, I had taken a look at a Sceptile EX deck not too long ago, but Sceptile EX by itself is a very impressive Pokemon. The only one of the non-Mega Evolution Pokemon that came released with this set, well, at least its previous evolution, which I felt was actually pretty good. Ampharos EX is not really great, to be honest. I mean, it's very energetically expensive, and for the most part doesn't have too many great attacks. Same with the Tyranitar EX, it's a pretty downright awful Pokemon for the most part. Sceptile EX, on the other hand, is a very powerful Pokemon. Sleep Poison, though, is pretty useless, I would say. I mean, it can be useful from time to time, but again, we do have to get lucky. It hits for only 10 damage, and then we flip a coin. If we manage to get a heads, we put our opponent's active Pokemon in a sleep and poisoned state. So that can be kind of nice, but again, it's pretty reliant on us flipping a coin, and it only hits for 10 damage, so that's pretty awful. Unseen Claw is really the attack that we'll be focusing on using with respects to this deck. So Unseen Claw will allow us to hit for 60 damage, but if our opponent's active Pokemon is affected by any special condition, this attack does 70 more damage. So that is 130 damage for only 2 energy cards. That is impressive. Now, when we latch on the Muscle Band onto that Sceptile EX, then that damage output goes up to 150. Also keep in mind that the poison will be affecting our opponent's active Pokemon in between turns. So that's essentially 160 damage for 2 energy cards and a Muscle Band. We are running a total of 3 Muscle Bands in our deck, but again, we're lacking a little bit in terms of being able to perform those one-hit knockouts. So where we're going to get those one-hit knockouts is through our bat line. So we are running a total of 3 copies of the Zubat, 3 copies of the Golbat, which has the Sneaky Bite ability, allowing us to put 2 damage counters on any one of our opponent's active Pokemon. So, well, on any one of our opponent's Pokemon, sorry, it doesn't necessarily have to be their active Pokemon. So that will allow us to reach the state at which that Sceptile EX can perform those one-hit knockouts on pretty much all EX Pokemon, which we will be encountering for the exception of maybe the Wailord EX. But keep in mind, we can additionally stack more and more damage counters, so we can easily potentially even perform those big one-hit knockouts on any any Mega EX Pokemon as well. So we are running a total of 2 copies of the Crobat as well. Again, it has the Surprise Bite ability, which allows us to stack 3 damage counters on any one of our opponent's active Pokemon. So ideally, we'll repeatedly get those big one-hit knockouts, and that Sceptile EX, again, gets going very, very quickly. Now, since we have these bats, and I think they're pretty important to our deck, I've actually decided to run a single copy of the Sacred Ash. Can allow us to recycle those Sceptile EXs as attackers in our deck. Those Ariadoses as well, which will allow us to poison our opponent's active Pokemon. I'll be getting to Ariados in a second, and of course, those bats as well. So Sacred Ash is pretty nice. We are running a single copy of that. Speaking of Ariados, we are running a total of 3 copies of it in our deck. It has the Poisonous Nest ability. We'll absolutely not be making use of the Impound attack. Now, Poisonous Nest allows us to put our opponent's active Pokemon in a poisoned state, and same goes for our own Pokemon as well, unless they happen to be a Grass-type Pokemon. So we're never actually going to be taking any poison damage, even if we happen to have a Bat as our active Pokemon. So, for example, that is because our Bats have absolutely no retreat cost, with the exception of the Zubat. So Golbat, as you guys can see, has absolutely no retreat cost. So we can use the Poisonous Nest ability and then simply retrieve that Golbat. Same thing goes for the Crobat. So again, Ariados just is a really, really nice Pokemon. So we are running a 3-3 line of it in combination with the Spinnerack. We are running 2 types of Switch cards in our deck, guys. So one of them is the Switch, the other one is the Escape Rope. We're running a total of 2 copies of the Level Ball. This will allow us to snatch up 50% of our Pokemon. So that is going to be our Spinneracks, our Ariados, our Zubat, and our Golbat. So that's kind of nice because we don't have to give up any cards from our hand whenever we do make use of that Level Ball. On the other hand, to grab our Crobat and our Sceptile EXs from our deck, we're going to need the Ultra Balls, which we're still running quite a few of in our deck as well. So we are running a total of 3 copies of the Ultra Ball. So we have a lot of different ways with which we can ultimately grab out those important Pokemon that we need. We have the Starling Megaphone, again, mainly in case we encounter a Garbodor type deck. Again, keep in mind that it will be getting rotated out of the standard format set, so we probably won't really need it when we are specifically focusing on the XY on set, but Starling Megaphone can still be nice just to get rid of the Muscle Band, any other important tool types attached to the opponent's active Pokemon. So I would still say it is a worthwhile card to include. And the remainder of our cards, guys, are pretty self-explanatory. I do, however, want to briefly discuss the Stadium cards. So we are running a total of 2 copies of the Forest of Giant Plants, this is only for the Spinarak and Ariadoses that we are running in our deck. They're pretty much the only grass Pokemon that we will be running, and chances are we're probably going to encounter a lot of grass type decks as well. So in case that happens to be the scenario, then maybe we don't really want to make use of the Force of Giant Plants, and instead we'd like to prefer and stick with the Dimension Valley, which is again pretty useful in that it will allow our bat line to be able to attack for absolutely no energy cards whatsoever. So Dimension Valley is actually a really nice card. So we will be running a total of 2 copies of that in our deck. Now the remainder of our cards, guys, I'm going to be going through nice and quickly. So we are running a total of 3 copies of the VS Seekers to reuse any of our draw supporter cards. We have a total of 9 draw supporters, 1 of them being the Ace Trainer, 4 of them being the Professor Birch's Observations, and 4 of them being the Professor Sycamore. 2 Lysanders also is useful just to allow us to Lysander out any of the opponent's bench Pokemon and then bring it out as the opponent's active Pokemon. And we're running a total of 12 energy cards. So with that, guys, we're going to go and find ourselves an opponent and just see what that Sceptile EX is capable of. So a Mega Sceptile EX is pretty impressive, but I also think that the Sceptile EX is another very impressive Pokemon as well. Could potentially even be slightly better than the Mega Sceptile EX, again, depending on how those respective decks are built. So it looks like we're going to get a Tails, so we will absolutely be going first this time around. So no Pokemon in our hand just yet. No Pokemon again. Looks like our opponent is running a Metagross deck. Alright, so this should be kind of interesting. Okay, we're seeing lots of different energies here as well. I mean, the Mystery Energy, the Double Dragon Energy, so this should be a bit of an interesting fight. I'll absolutely be starting off with the Sceptile EX as our active Pokemon. It would be pretty nice actually to draw onto the Force of Giant Plants, because then I could immediately make use of the Poisonous Nest ability and poison the opponent's active Pokemon. So, again, we're just waiting for the opponent to lay down their first bench Pokemon. Could potentially be a Beldum. Again, we did see those Metagrosses. That Metagross could actually hit for quite a bit of damage, especially if our opponent is running a good deck that allows them to repeatedly draw onto a whole ton of cards. So let's draw onto an additional card, and okay, so it looks like we're going to be seeing the Palkia X. Alright, so that's what those double dragon energies were there for. So let's go and attach a the Grass Energy card onto that Sceptile EX. A Muscle Band as well. I mean, we do have an Ariados in our hand, but I do want to bring out some of our bats as well. So I'm going to go with the Professor Birch's Observation, and awesome, looks like we are going to flip a head. Let's go and bring out that Zubat, and we're going to get that Force of Giant Plant. So let's actually go and immediately poison the opponent, Palkia EX, and that is going to be how we end our turn. So we'll immediately guys, during our next turn, we're already able to hit for 150 damage, and that will actually be enough to knock out the opponent's Pokemon, because that poison damage is going to hurt them by 20 damage, and then when we attack, that's 150 damage. When it's the opponent's turn again, that Palkia EX is going to get knocked out. So that is pretty great. That's where the Force of Giant Plants really comes in handy with respects to this deck. And after we've made use of it, often what we'd like to instead do is bring out that Dimension Valley and send this card into that discard pile, especially if our opponent is running some sort of grass type deck as well. And of course, we don't want them to be able to take advantage of that. Okay, so it looks like that is going to be a turn 2 victory for us. Let's go and use Unseen Claw, and that is going to be it. So we'll absolutely be finding ourselves an additional opponent. So Sceptile EX already seems to be a pretty nice, pretty powerful Pokemon. I mean, turn 2 knockout, able to get rid of a 180 HP EX Pokemon. That is definitely impressive. So I think we're probably going to be seeing a lot of Sceptile EX competitively as well. So let's see what type of deck we'll be facing this time around. Our opponent has the advantage. We're seeing Grass and Psychic type Pokemon, so who knows, it may actually be similar to our deck, because we're running the Bats as our Psychic type Pokemon and the Grass Pokemon, that Sceptile EX respectively as our Grass type, and of course those Ariadoses as well. So let's see what our opponent is going to start off with. Okay, so we're going to be seeing that Venusaur EX and a Trico. Let's go and bring out that Spinarak. I'm going to go and attach a Grass Energy card onto that Sceptile EX. A Muscle Band as well. We'll be using that Level Ball to look for one of those Zubats. Again, it is nice that we don't have to discard any energy cards, any cards in our hand when you're making use of those Level Balls. Let's hope for a Heads. Are we going to get it? No, it looks like it's going to be a Tails this time around. I'm going to go and bring out an additional Spinarak, and that is going to be how we end the turn. So I'm hoping to knock out the opponent's Venusaur EX during our next turn. If we're able to poison it, we should be able to knock it out, because I do have the Golbat in our hand. So we should be able to hit for just the right amount of damage to get that knockout. So let's go and stack 2 damage counters onto it. I'm going to go and attach the Grass Energy card onto that Sceptile EX. Come on, Professor Birch's Observation. Let us get a Heads this time around, and awesome, looks like we're going to get it. No Ariados, but we do have the Ultra Ball, so I can absolutely use that to get rid of 2 cards in our hand and then bring out that Ariados. I do want to keep that Crobat in our hand, so I'm actually going to go and get rid of a Sceptile EX and a Grass Energy card as well to bring out that very first Ariados. So okay, looks like we actually have 2 of our Ariadoses prized. Luckily, we are running a 3-3 line though, so we had at least one that we could make use of. Actually, maybe I should have gotten rid of the Forest of Giant Plants as opposed to the Sceptile EX, but that's okay. Let's go and use Poisonous Nest. Again, our opponent could always take advantage of the Forest of Giant Plants, so maybe it's better that we just keep it in our hand. Let's go and use Unseen Claw. 80 damage? Did I not? Oh, right, our opponent's Pokemon is a Grass type as well. Oh, I completely forgot about that. Otherwise, I should not have gotten rid of that Sceptile EX. That's a very, very foolish mistake on my part, guys. Could have actually been a huge mistake, but okay, no, I was gonna say we should be able to knock out the opponent's Venusaur EX by bringing out the Crobat, but he just repeatedly kept healing it, so now it is outside of that 1-hit knockout range for us. So let's go and bring out the Crobat and then stack 3 damage counters onto the opponent's Venusaur EX. I'm gonna go and attach that Grass Energy card onto that Crobat. We may actually see it in action. Skill Dive is pretty nice for sniping off any of the opponent's bench Pokemon. Again, Ariados is unfortunately pretty useless in this battle, so I'm gonna have to go and use Unseen Claw for 80 damage, and we should definitely be able to get rid of that Venusaur EX during our next turn, but possibly not until our own Sceptile EX gets poisoned. So we're seeing another potion, so it looks like our opponent is running a heavily sort of healing type deck. That Sceptile EX is going to get inflicted by the poison damage. I think I'm just gonna stick around with the Sceptile EX for now. Let's go and use Unseen Claw, guys, for 80 damage. I really am now regretting getting rid of one of those Sceptile EXs and sending them into our discard pile. But it's okay, we still have the Sacred Ash, and of course we should still have at least one more Sceptile EX in our deck, and possibly one that is prized. So, yeah, Ariados is pretty useless in this game. Definitely something that I should have paid attention to. So we're going to see a Grass Energy card getting latched on to that Venusaur EX. I think I'll be making use of the Escape Rope to temporarily switch in to that Crobat, and then I could always retreat it to bring out that Sceptile EX in case that is what I wanted to do. We're going to see that Energy Retrieval. So 2 Grass Energy cards in the opponent's hand. We have a Grass Energy card in our hand as well. I mean, no, I don't really think we need any of our Stadium cards just yet, but I don't really want to draw into them all over again. So I'm going to go and bring out the Dimension Valley temporarily. Let's go and use that Escape Rope. Force the opponent to switch out his active Venusaur EX with one of his bench Pokemon, and we're going to temporarily bring out the Crobat as our own active Pokemon. Gonna hold off on that Grass Energy card. Let's go and use VS Seeker, Professor Birch's Observation. Hope that we get something nice in our hand. And okay, 7 new cards and a Sceptile EX. Alright, so I'm definitely very happy about that. Yeah, let's just go and retreat that Crobat to bring out that Sceptile EX. I could get rid of 2 cards of our hand, and yeah, you know what, I think that's actually what I'm gonna go and do. So I'm gonna start picking off at the opponent's benched Venusaur EX. So let's go and bring out that Crobat and then stack 2 damage counters onto that Venusaur EX. Let's go and use Unseen Claw. 80 damage. Should be able to get rid of the opponent's Genesect during our next turn simply by bringing out the Crobat, stacking 3 damage counters onto it, and then our Sceptile EX can immediately start attacking that Venusaur EX. So we're seeing a double colors energy. It will be able to soon start attacking with the Jungle Hammer, and of course slowly healing off some damage as well. So let's go and bring out an additional Grass Energy card, Crobat, get rid of that Genesect, and that will allow us to snatch one more prize card. Looks like it is going to be the Ariados. Again, unfortunately, it is useless in this battle. If the opponent does bring out the Trico, we will be able to knock it out with that Sceptile EX's attack. So, but it looks like our opponent's actually going to bring out that Venusaur EX. Let's go and use Unseen Claw. 80 damage. Definitely not enough. Unfortunately, our Sceptile EX is weak when we actually can't inflict our opponents with any sort of status conditions. We're going to see the Pokemon Center Lady as well, getting hit for 90 damage, and that Venusaur EX is almost back to full HP. So things aren't looking all that great for us. I'm going to go and temporarily bring out that Crobat. And we do have the VS Seeker. What do we have in our discard pile? Just the Professor Birch's Observation. I think we can go and bring out an additional Sceptile EX. Let's go and use that VS Seeker, Professor Birch's Observation. Hope that we get something nice in our hand. 4 cards, and okay, we're going to draw onto a Muscle Band, so that's definitely going to be useful. I mean, using the Sleep Poison attack is just too risky, especially since there is no guarantee that we'll be able to reflip. So, for example, we don't have the Trick Coin. So I think I'm simply going to stick with the Unseen Claw attack for the time being. So let's go and bring out that Sceptile EX, a Muscle Band, and then use the Unseen Claw attack for 80 damage. That Venusaur EX is, of course, still alive, and it's also going to be able to heal off some of that damage. So it's actually starting to look kind of menacing right now. Again, just because we can't take advantage of the Ariados' Poisonous Nest ability. So we're going to see that Trainer's Mail, a potion card. Yeah, our opponent just repeatedly keeps healing off that damage. We may actually be eventually at a prize card disadvantage, and that could allow us to make use of that Ace Trainer. But of course, I'm not going to wait and stick around. Instead, I'll just be making use of that Professor Birch's Observation. We're also going to see the Headringer getting latched on to that Sceptile EX. So yeah, things are absolutely not looking good for us right now. Okay, I have a Sycamore as well, actually. But again, I feel like that Ace Trainer card may actually come in handy, so I'm gonna go and use the Professor Birch's Observation. We're gonna get a Tails, so let's go and attach a Grass Energy card on to that Sceptile EX. Let's go and use Unseen Claw for 80 damage. Venusaur EX still alive and well for the most part, and that Sceptile EX is unfortunately Headringered. Yeah, our opponent is definitely playing it smart. I mean, especially with the repeated healing. My goodness, things are absolutely not looking good for us at this point, guys. And that Sceptile EX is going to get knocked out, allowing the opponent to draw onto 2 more prize cards. I'm going to go and temporarily bring out a Crobat. We'll be attaching a Grass Energy card onto that Sceptile EX. Okay, so it looks like we just drew into that Ace Trainer. Let's go and make use of it. We have the Forest of Giant Plants. Our opponent could take advantage of that, and our Crobats could potentially attack for free, so I think I'm going to stick with them for now. If I attack with Crobat, I mean, we can only hit for 30 damage, and that Venusaur EX can easily heal off all of that damage. So I'm going to go and temporarily retreat to bring out that Sceptile EX. Let's go and use Unseen Claw for 60 damage, and unfortunately, that's going to have to be how we end the turn. So, yeah, things are not looking good at this point, but we do have the Lysander. Maybe I could take advantage of that to get rid of that Rayquaza EX and potentially snipe off that Trico as well with our bats and things like that. So, I mean, at this point, I really have to think about what I would like to do. Sceptile EX is just too much of a liability. I don't think we're going to be attacking with it anymore, so I'm going to be retreating to bring out this Crobat. I mean, I do have the Lysander, so I could lure out one of the opponent's bench Pokemon, and that could potentially allow us to stall for a little bit of time. I could definitely bring out that Rayquaza EX. I mean, our Crobat will definitely be able to survive an attack, so I think that is actually what I'm going to go and do. So let's bring out that Rayquaza EX. I mean, at this point, I just need to play it smart and just pretty much pick off any of our opponent's Pokemon, except for that Venusaur EX. I mean, there's just too much healing going on there, and our Sceptile EX can only hit for 60 damage at a time, so... Excuse me, yeah, let's go and attach a Grass Energy card onto that Crobat for now. Impound, we could actually see a little bit of that in action as well. So let's go and use Skill Dive. I think I'm actually going to go and pick off that Trico first. Just a relatively easy target, and will allow us to draw onto a prize card. So, wish I could make use of Hypnotoxic. Sorry, excuse me. Wish I could make use of the Hypnotoxic Laser, but of course I'm focusing specifically on a standard build, so unfortunately that's not going to be the case. Let's go and use that Level Ball, guys. Bring out that Golbat. Yeah, so I'm pretty much going to pick off on the opponent's Rayquaza EX and that Trico. So let's go and bring out that Golbat, stack 2 damage counters on the opponent's Rayquaza EX. Oh right, sorry, it's actually not a grass Pokemon, so I can actually poison it. So that is kind of nice. So I'm going to go and attach a Grass Energy card on to an Ariados for now. Let's actually go and use Poisonous Nest. I'll absolutely be retreating this Crobat. Let's go and bring out this Crobat, and I'm going to go and pick off the opponent's Trico. So we could actually win the game, especially if the opponent does not retreat that Rayquaza EX. So you know what, I'm going to go and use that Sycamore. And okay, awesome. Looks like we do have a Lysander in our hand, so we could actually win the game. So let's go and use that Skill Dive. 30 damage, knocking out that opponent's Trico, and allowing us to snatch up one more prize card. I mean, of course, if our opponent has a Lysander as well, he would be able to win the game by knocking out that Sceptile EX. We're going to see Rayquaza Spirit Link. Is Mega Rayquaza EX going to make its appearance? I mean, if it does, it can only hit us for 30 damage. Yeah, so it looks like we're actually going to be able to win this game. If I actually, sorry, yeah, I don't have a Grass Energy card. Well, do I want to use the Sycamore? I mean, I only have two cards remaining in our deck. I mean, that is just really risky, and again, that Sceptile EX can't attack just yet. So how many Grass Energy cards do we have in our discard pile? So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Nope, I've wasted every single one of them. I am really not that smart. And our Ariados can't even attack because it doesn't even have enough Grass Energy cards to be able to attack. Okay, I mean, the Sacred Ash, I could get some of our Pokemon back. I could recycle some of our bats in case our opponent does knock them out. Sorry, so let me just resume that. I'm really trying to think right now, guys. So let's go and use that Skill Dive, hit that Rayquaza EX for 30 damage, and the opponent will absolutely be able to knock it out. We could still win the game, though. I mean, it is a pretty close game, and again, I was really stupid in terms of attaching that grass energy card onto that Ariados without even taking a look at how many energy cards we had in that discard pile. So I'm gonna go and temporarily bring out that Crobat, guys. I'll absolutely be making use of that Sacred Ash card to recycle our bats. So let's go and use that Crobat, Golbat, and Zubat, and I guess 2 Sceptile EXs as well. I mean, why not? And I'll definitely need to make use of the Professor Birch's observation, because of course if I make use of that Sycamore, we will deck ourselves out, and I don't think we can win just yet. Yeah, so there's definitely no way we can win just yet, guys. So I'm gonna go and use the Professor Birch's observation. Yes, and 4 cards. Okay, so we have the Ultra Ball. So that's kind of nice. I'm gonna go and use that to bring out the Crobat, guys. So let's go and bring it out and then stack 3 damage counters onto that Rayquaza EX, so we could still win the game. Again, I was just really foolish in terms of attaching that grass energy card. The opponent could still win, especially if he has a Lysander. Let's go and use Skill Dive, hit that Rayquaza EX for 30 damage, and if we don't see a Lysander coming out on the opponent's end or the Escape Rope, we will actually be able to win the game, even though again it is really close. I think we're actually going to see that Rayquaza EX retreating and possibly that Venusaur EX making an appearance, but again, that doesn't really matter because we do have the Skill Dive attack. Yeah, so the opponent has unfortunately lost the game, unless again we do see that Mega Rayquaza EX, because we do see a Rayquaza Spirit Link attached to that Rayquaza EX. So let's hope that we weren't foolish enough. And okay, so it looks like we're actually going to win the game. Very tight, close game. Lots of mistakes on my part, but I hope that you guys can learn from them. So let's go and use Skill Dive, take those very last 2 prize cards, and make an incredible comeback victory. So that is going to be the game, guys. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Also be sure to check out those annotations for my previous video or a random video as well. And that is going to be it. So again, thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.